$90 for an iPad app? Have I lost my mind? That's like 90 times the normal price of any app, and most apps are free. How could any app be possibly worth $90? Well, stick around. That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Matthew Gronsky from MatthewGronsky.com. I'm a music teacher from Long Island, New York, and I'm also a composer and digital resource creator for music teachers. Now, before we talk about this specific app, if you don't believe me, well, here's the receipt. Well, actually, wait a second. That's actually the receipt from my 4-year-old who recently bought this game on Xbox by accident. I think he's smarter than he looks. Well, let's try this again. Here's the receipt for this app. Yep, and it's called StaffPad. Now, if you've never heard of StaffPad, it's actually a music notation app for iOS and Android tablets. Now, let's really just dive straight to the chase here. Can an app possibly be worth $90? And I'm going to make the simplest argument right now. Well, guess what? Most music notation software cost more than $90. So I'm going to say right off the bat, this app is actually worth the $90 price tag. Now, even though I think it's well worth that $90 price tag, it may or may not be worth it for you as a music teacher or composer, but we're going to talk about the specifics of StaffPad and whether or not it is worth it for you. Now, also to give you some background, I remember hearing about StaffPad, I think it was a couple years ago, and this was actually before I was using my Apple Pencil on my iPad. Now, I don't have a video on this, but all I can tell you is the Apple Pencil has been a game changer for me. I am a techie music teacher and composer, and I remember the first time I actually used the Apple Pencil, I was blown away at the responsiveness of the Apple Pencil. Having used other styluses in the past, Apple Pencil, totally worth it. Now, what does this have to do with StaffPad? Well, StaffPad is it's an application that specifically uses the Apple Pencil to basically draw and write and to create music in StaffPad. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you my iPad screen. I'm just going to mirror it so that you can see how StaffPad works. So let's dive right in. Now, StaffPad, this is the main screen here, and we have home, we have the library, we have included free templates for a whole slew of different instruments, or I should say a whole slew of different voicings. And then we have some collections here where you can, I believe you can make like your own folders of different pieces that you're working on. And there's also this store here, which is really, really cool. So this store on StaffPad, and this is actually one of the things that made me even more interested in StaffPad, is that this store is basically a bunch of virtual instruments. Now, I use a lot of these instruments that you can see right here on my iPad. I actually own some of these virtual instruments that I use when I regularly record in Logic. Yes, I have Voxos from Cinesamples, and I have Cinebrass. Yeah, I have the, oh man, the Tina Guos is amazing. And I use these virtual libraries when I am recording music regularly in Logic. So the crazy thing though is you can download these libraries and actually use them in StaffPad. Now, of course, there's some additional charges. In fact, let me just click on one here. So for example, this is, $26. Now, I wish there was a way to transfer my purchase over from Logic, but I'm just showing you that this does include these professionally sampled libraries that you can use when you are writing in StaffPad. But let's say you are a music teacher watching, or maybe a composer, and you're wondering, like, what is the point of using StaffPad? Well, I think one of the greatest and coolest abilities of StaffPad is the fact that you can actually draw with an Apple Pencil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on New Score here, and boom, we are instantly in this new score that we just created. But let's add some instruments here. So I'm going to click this arrow at the top left, click this little violin, and sure, let's create I happen to be a choir director. So I'm going to make some vocals here, click on add, and this has just added it to our score. And let's zoom in here. And what I can do is I can just directly draw in the app. So let's pretend we're in C major, right? No sharps, no flats. So let's draw a basic sight reading example. So we're going to start on Do here. Let's have a simple Do, Mi, Sol pattern. And I'm just drawing directly on my iPad right now. And I'm going to tap outside this measure and check this out. Boom, it instantly turned what I just drew into actual music notation, which is really, really cool. Some other things you might want to be mindful of is this dot. Oh my goodness, it would drive me crazy when I first started using this app because I was like, why is that dot there? I can't get rid of it. Well, watch this. Let me draw another measure here. Let's have some eighth notes here. So let's do sol, fa, and mi, re. And I'm going to tap outside the space here. And again, if you notice, that dot that was over here is now over here. So I would just ignore the dot. I don't know why I have to mention that, but it took me a while to figure that out. So just the dot is going to, it's going to be there just from simply tapping outside of that measure. So you guys, so you kind of understand what's happening here. You can draw this notation, tap outside the measure, and it instantly interprets that music notation. So why don't we just finish up? Let's create like a simple 4-bar phrase here. So we have sol, fa, mi, re, and then let's make it very basic. Mi, re, and then we'll end on a whole note. So let's tap here, enter that measure, and then we'll end on a whole note here of do. Great. And you know what? Let's make this the end of the piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold my finger on this bar line, and I can actually select to change the bar line, and we'll make it our final line here. And you see it cuts off the rest of the music. Now, the great thing about this, okay, and this is for any music teacher who may be considering this purchase, I think that the real standout element that could be a game changer, especially in the music classroom, is the playback ability of StaffPad. Because now, as you see, I just created this example, right? For those of you who may not be familiar with some of the resources that I've created for music teachers, one of the number one emails that I've gotten from other music teachers is they want to know, how am I creating this effect where the music scrolls so that students can follow? Now, if you've never heard of this, I have some choir warm-up videos, some sight reading. It's called 70-second solfege, which uses this scroll back feature. And it's been a little complicated. In fact, to do that, there's several steps involved. Screen recording, the Logic playback, or the playback screen from Logic. It's a complicated thing, but here's the cool thing about StaffPad is when I watch what happens when I play this back. Look, I'm going to hit the play button up here. You can see the music is instantly scrolling with that blue line, and it's automatically scrolling through the music. So now I am currently recording this in the midst of hybrid teaching, where I'm teaching both virtually and in person. But even though I have never done this with a class in person, my intention is in the future to basically have one of my choirs create their own sight reading example, and then I can play back the rolling track just like you saw it. And what you can do is you can actually select whether or not you want the track to be heard. I can lower or raise the playback, and the class can actually sing along with the sight reading example that they just created. Now, I'm speaking from a choir context, but this could be like if you're a band teacher or an orchestra teacher, so you can do the same thing using StaffPad. And I think that is, to be honest, I think that alone might just be worth that $90 to have a tool in the classroom where students can create on the live, hear it back, or perform it back is really, really cool. So again, let's talk about some other features here of StaffPad. Another cool thing that I would probably do is, let's say I didn't want this to be heard, right? What I could do is I can, I could add a click track here by selecting this metronome up here, or I'm actually going to add kind of like a rhythmic accompaniment. So I'm going to select drums here, and I'm going to add this drum kit. And I'm going to drag, I want the drum kit to be below the vocal. And so boom, we have this drum kit here. So let's have a basic rhythmic pattern here. So 2 eighth notes and a quarter note. And here's a cool little tip. I'm going to double tap on my Apple Pencil, and it brings up this lasso tool. where I can select this pattern, and now watch, I'm just gonna tap, and everywhere I tap, it is automatically, it's just basically copying and pasting. So now I could even do this with a full measure. So I can use this lasso tool to select this whole measure, copying and pasting. I mean, it doesn't get that much easier than that. It's really, really cool. And again, I can play back this excerpt, and now I have the rhythm track that's playing in the background with the vocal. One other thing I did notice, in case you happen to be a teacher who's using StaffPad, I did notice that the vocal is slightly behind the beat, which is, to be honest, it's a little frustrating. And it's not like you need to hear the vocal. So what I've been doing is changing this vocal. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select the instruments here, and I'm going to actually swap out this vocal for some strings. I have the violins here, and now I'm going to press swap here at the bottom, and now the playback is being played by violins. So this is another cool feature, which is you can pretty much instantly swap in and out any kind of instrumentation that you want. There are so many possibilities for this StaffPad. So let's recap. Is this worth $90? Well, to be very clear, I have Sibelius, and Sibelius, when I purchased it, was more than $90. I think it was like $100 or $120. And one of the frustrating things about Sibelius, even though I happen to love it, and I know some composers and teachers are firmly, oh, it has to be Sibelius or it has to be Finale. But one of the frustrating things I've noticed about Sibelius is they've moved to a subscription model, and I really like to own the software that I'm using. Well, this $90 price tag, I own it, and I can write on the fly wherever I am with my iPad, create examples, use it with my classes, and it's cheaper than Sibelius, cheaper than most notation software. And also the fact that you can add a professional style. Let's go home here. That you have these collections of instruments here that you can purchase much cheaper than you would normally have to purchase them for. I can actually export this by clicking share. I can print a PDF of the music, or I can export the XML file, and I can directly import this to a Sibelius or a Finale. So it has that versatile nature. And one other thing before we go that I thought was really cool about this, StaffPad actually has the StaffPad reader, where you can actually project your music to another tablet. So if you have StaffPad running on, let's say, on this iPad, I can have if I happen to have another tablet of someone else who's in the room, I can actually instantly basically mirror that StaffPad music. So many possibilities that I don't really have time to go into depth in this video. Everything from annotations to so many applications of ways that StaffPad can be used. If you've never heard about this before, I encourage you to check it out. Thank you so much for watching. If this was informative for you, please like this video. Feel free to share it and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.